On an autumn afternoon, golden sunlight filters through the bamboo grove, casting dappled shadows along the forest path during the night of the monastic assembly. The Buddha was seated together with his disciples around an ancient Bodhi tree, teaching the Dharma. Suddenly, a man dressed in plain clothes approached slowly, carefully holding a delicate celadon urn engraved with lotus patterns. The man's face was haggard, his eyes filled with sorrow, yet also revealing a trace of confusion and a yearning for knowledge. He approached the Buddha, gently placed the urn of ashes down, knelt on both knees, and deeply kowtowed to the Buddha. The gazes of all the disciples involuntarily turned towards the unfamiliar man who had suddenly appeared. The voice delivering the Dharma gradually subsided, and the entire bamboo grove Dharma assembly fell into a special tranquility. Venerable, the man's voice trembled slightly as he struggled to control his emotions. My father has just passed away. Before his death, he tightly held my hand, tears in his eyes, and implored me. His ashes must never be scattered into the rivers or streams. They must be placed beside the ancestral tablet at home and honored daily with incense offerings. He said that only in this way can he ensure he will not lose his human form in the next life. The man lifted his head, tears shimmering in his eyes, and I was filled with perplexity. When a person dies, it is like a lamp going out. Ashes are merely dust and should not affect the next life. Why not scatter the ashes into rivers, which aligns more naturally with the way of nature? Many people in the world scatter their loved ones' ashes into the Ganges River, believing that this can help the departed soul attain liberation. Why is my father so fixated on the way his ashes are placed? The woman's question was incisive, and the disciples present couldn't help but show thoughtful expressions. The Buddha looked upon the sorrowful woman with eyes as gentle and compassionate as a spring breeze. Good woman, you have come with a heart full of sorrow. May I know your name? The Buddha's voice was gentle and melodious like jade. Venerable Mahakasyapa, my name is Upati. I am the daughter of a merchant from Rajaga, a woman diligently striving to cultivate wisdom. Venerable Ananda stood beside the Buddha, filled with compassion, and stepped forward to speak. Uvathi, your father surely has his reasons. Why not bring this doubt before the Blessed One, and let the Blessed One dispel your confusion? Subhuti, with deep reverence, bowed profoundly and said, World-honored one, my father was a devout disciple of the Buddha during his lifetime, strictly adhering to the precepts, never ceasing in chanting sutras and paying homage to the Buddha, and generously aiding those in poverty. What I do not understand is that since he knows that human existence is nothing more than a temporary combination of the four elements, earth, water, fire, and wind, why does he remain so attached to the placement of the ashes? This seems to contradict the Buddhist teachings he often imparted to me. The Buddha closed his eyes in deep meditation for a moment, and when he opened them, his gaze was as clear and serene as still water. Subhuti, have you ever raised silkworms in your home? Surprised, Subhuti did not expect the Buddha to ask such an apparently unrelated question. Yes, it is the Venerable One. My mother has long been engaged in sericulture, and all the silk in our home is produced by her own labor. Have you ever closely observed the process of a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis? The Buddha continued to ask. I have seen the Blessed One many times. When I was a child, I often stayed by the silkworm cocoon, waiting for the moment the butterfly would emerge. Subhuti answered, a childhood memory flickering in his eyes. Well said, Subhuti. O Venerable One, please tell me, what does the cocoon signify to the butterfly? Subhuti pondered for a moment, examining the dwelling that existed before the butterfly's transformation. It was the cradle of its metamorphosis, as well as the safeguard during the process of change. Exactly so, the Buddha nodded in approval. What would happen if someone were to destroy the cocoon before the butterfly has fully transformed? A gleam of understanding flashed in Subhuti's eyes. The butterfly would be unable to complete its metamorphosis smoothly. It might perish prematurely, or even if it emerged from the cocoon, it would be incomplete and unable to fly. The Buddha's satisfied smile and the contemplation of Abhadaka reflect careful consideration. In what ways are the human body and remnants similar? In the midst of astonishment, there was a profound silence, where even the faintest sound of the breeze rustling through the leaves could be clearly heard. All the disciples quieted their minds and concentrated, immersed in this enlightening teaching. Apati sat in contemplation for a moment, and gradually his eyes began to shine with the light of understanding. Venerable Shakyamuni, you say that the human body is like a decayed relic, a temporary dwelling place for the soul. Moreover, the Buddha's voice is filled with wisdom. The human body is like a shell, while the consciousness is like a caterpillar about to transform into a butterfly. At the end of life, the consciousness does not immediately leave the physical body. Instead, it requires a period of time to fully disengage and seek the next support or vessel. This process is called the formation of the bardo body. The intermediate state body, the subtle spirit form, furrowed its brow, eyes filled with confusion. The elder Venerable Kasyapa stepped forward, his silver hair flowing to a point, his eyes gleaming with a sacred light. The subtle body, the bardo body, is the transitional state between death and rebirth. It is like water flowing from a higher place to a lower place, requiring a process. The consciousness, shifting from one life to another, also needs a period of preparation and adjustment. The Buddha slightly nodded, affirming Kasyapa's explanation that the state of the bardo body is extremely subtle and important. At this stage, the deceased's personal identity exists in a unique state, having detached from the old body but not yet attained rebirth. At this moment, one's existence is highly susceptible to disturbances, much like a candle flame in the wind. With even the slightest carelessness, it may be extinguished or drift toward an unforeseen direction. The wandering spirit cautiously held the urn containing the father's ashes. Venerable Shakyamuni, what is the connection between the ashes and the bardo body? The Buddha looked at the urn of ashes in his hand, his tone becoming profound and mysterious. During the intermediate state, bardo, the connection between the sovereign and the world becomes exceedingly subtle, much like the relationship between a butterfly and its cocoon during metamorphosis, seemingly separate, yet mutually influential. Subhudi's eyes flickered with doubt. World-honored one, can the manner of handling the ashes truly affect the fate of a sovereign? If the ashes are scattered into rivers, what would happen? The Buddha's gaze grew profound, as if penetrating the boundaries of time and space, like a solitary boat without rudder or oar, left at the mercy of the wind and waves. The journey of the bardo body is filled with the unknown, and the ashes, seemingly ordinary dust, play a role in the unseen realm that you have yet to understand. Ananda could not help but ask, World-honored one, I have heard that after some great and virtuous monks pass away, their disciples scatter their ashes into rivers or bury them in the earth. Is there any difference in the principles among these? A flash of approval shone in the Buddha's eyes. Well done, Ananda. The realms of practitioners vary, and so do their needs after departing this life. It is like the lotus that emerges from the mud, yet remains unstained, or like a flying bird that must rely on the wind to soar. What kind of person requires what manner of handling their ashes? Within this lies the profound secret of samsara, concerning the crucial mystery of the destination of consciousness. The words of the Buddha were like a riddle, causing everyone present to fall into deep contemplation. The wind in the bamboo grove suddenly turned cool, and the shadows of the trees swayed, as if an invisible force was encircling them. Yoba held my hand tightly, tears in his eyes, and earnestly instructed me to place his ashes beside the ancestral tablets in the family altar. What secret is truly hidden behind this instruction? Can ashes really affect a person's next life? The disciples in the assembly involuntarily held their breath, awaiting the Buddha to reveal the truth behind this seemingly simple yet profound question. Between life and death, there exists a profound connection beyond ordinary understanding. The Buddha finally spoke, his voice deep and penetrating. Your father's admonition was not without reason. Ashes may appear ordinary, but they hold a subtle yet crucial connection to the future of the departed. The profound essence within this cannot be fully expressed in a few words. Subhuti gently pressed the urn of ashes close to his chest, as if he could feel his father's presence through the sound of the drum. The Buddha, his father's greatest wish before passing, was to be reborn as a human in the next life, to continue practicing the Dharma until attaining liberation. He often said that this was his lifelong pursuit and the goal of all his ascetic practices. Is there truly a connection between the placement of cremated ashes and the Father's destination in the afterlife? What kind of mysteries of life and death does this pertain to? I earnestly beseech the Blessed One to reveal to me the profound truth within. The Buddha's gaze grew profound, and the entire bamboo grove monastery was enveloped in a veil of mysterious radiant clouds. Subhuti, your question concerns not only the placement of the ashes, but also touches upon the profound truth of samsara. Subhuti cupped the urn containing the ashes with both hands, involuntarily bowing down and kneeling to the ground, tears once again filling his eyes. Honored Buddha, I am but a mere mortal, unversed in the profound meanings of the Dharma. My father's last words before his passing kept me awake through the night. I only want to understand why it is not permissible to scatter a father's ashes into the river. Will this truly affect his future rebirth? The Buddha looked at Upadita, kneeling on the ground, his gaze filled with boundless compassion, and spoke slowly. Good woman, although the bone ashes are composed of the four great elements, Mahabuddhas, they contain the imprints of past karma from one's lifetime. These imprints exert an unimaginable influence on the cycle of existence and rebirth. The human body is composed of the four great elements: earth, water, fire, and wind. At the end of life, these four great elements each return to nature. However, the cycle of life and death is far more complex than ordinary people imagine. The Buddha gently closed his eyes, as if contemplating an image that only he could perceive. At the moment of death, the physical body and the consciousness do not separate immediately. Subhuti gazed unwaveringly at the Buddha without blinking. What is the connection between the intermediate state, bardo body, and cremated ashes according to the Blessed One? The impact of the ashes on the consciousness is like the guidance a lighthouse provides to a ship. The Buddha extended his hand and pointed to the urn of ashes held by Subhuti, in which the subtle energies of the deceased's former life were preserved. This form of energy is invisible to the naked eye, yet it serves as a guiding star, providing direction for the consciousness during the bardo state. Especially for practitioners, the intact preservation of cremated remains is not superstition, but a wise consideration based on the principles of samsara. If one can preserve the ashes intact and regularly recite sutras for offerings nearby, this energy will become more stable, helping the consciousness remain clear and not be scattered by the torrent of ignorance and karmic forces. Adding a supplementary homage to the Honored One is like a lamp that guides the way home in the dark night. Intact cremains can provide a sense of direction for the intermediate state being, preventing the consciousness from becoming lost in the vast, wild sea. Ananda asked curiously, Bhagwan, why do the ashes scattered into rivers and streams have an adverse effect on the intermediate state being? Subhuti involuntarily gasped. The Buddha's meaning was that if I were to go against my father's last wishes and scatter his ashes into the river, it might cause him to be unable to be reborn as a human in the next life. Indeed, it is so for practitioners dedicated to the proper path. His dying instructions to you to preserve the ashes stem precisely from this profound understanding of the laws of samsara. Ubodhi appeared thoughtful and asked, why do some people in the world advocate scattering ashes into rivers? The Buddha, with a compassionate expression, explained that different traditions embody different wisdom. Some people believe that scattering ashes into rivers symbolizes the return of life to nature. This kind of thought itself is not wrong, But for someone like your father who is still on the path of practice, preserving the ashes is indeed more beneficial. Venerable Kassapa further added that just as different boats require different ways of navigation, a large ship can sail directly into the open sea, while a small boat must slowly navigate along the riverbank. Those whose practice has not yet reached perfection require additional support to ensure they can continue their cultivation within the human realm. Indeed, the Buddha temporarily regarded the physical dwelling. For those who have attained enlightenment, the flesh and bones are merely aggregates of illusion. No matter how they are treated, it does not affect their state of liberation. However, for most people, especially devoted practitioners, the manner in which the cremains are handled truly affects the stability of consciousness during the bardo state. Subhuti suddenly attained a profound understanding. Now I comprehend the deep meaning of my father's final instructions. He is not motivated by superstition, but rather based on an understanding of the law of samsara, hoping to ensure the opportunity for continued practice in future lives. The Buddha continued, "The flow of life is like a river that never ceases, and the bardo body is like a bridge between the two banks. This bridge is both fragile and vital. It determines whether the consciousness can successfully reach the other shore and what kind of other shore it will arrive at. The ancient ashes, as the final physical vessel of life, have a wondrous connection with this bridge. It is like the pillar of a bridge, able to stabilize the intermediate state body to some extent and reduce the likelihood of the consciousness being overwhelmed by powerful karmic forces." Ananda asked, "O Shakyamuni, if ancient ashes can provide stability and direction to the intermediate state body, then are the deceased's past practices and thoughts at the moment of death equally important?" The Buddha temporarily gazed at Ananda, and with a sudden thought, realized, "Ananda, you have touched upon a deeper, profound truth. The cultivation practice during one's lifetime and the thoughts held at the moment of death have a decisive influence on the destination of the consciousness. This is like a person's life goal and the map guidance before departure. Ashes are merely one of the auxiliary factors, but for those who have not yet fully grasped the direction of their own practice, every auxiliary factor is immensely precious." Subhuti respectfully asked, "Shakyamuni, besides properly placing the ashes, what other ways can I help my father?" The Buddha smiled and said, "Regularly chant sutras and recite the Buddha's name for him. Practice kindness and generosity, and dedicate the merit to him. All these can provide strength to his bardo body, guiding him to be reborn in a favorable realm. More importantly, diligent cultivation and practice by oneself is the greatest filial piety toward the deceased, because an individual's practice not only benefits oneself, but also illuminates all beings karmically connected to them, including deceased loved ones." Subhuti's eyes were filled with gratitude and understanding. "I will follow my father's instructions, placing his ashes next to the ancestral tablet in the family home, regularly offering incense and chanting sutras. At the same time, I will embark on the path of cultivation, hoping to attain wisdom through the Dharma and understand the truth of birth and death." The Buddha nodded with contentment. "Well said, well said. Upalavanna, your awakening is profound. Your father, now in the intermediate state, will surely sense your resolve and actions, and this will become the strength that propels him forward." Upavada further asked, "Shakyamuni, how can one transcend the cycle of samsara and no longer be bound by these laws?" The Buddha gazed deeply and said, "The path to transcending samsara begins with the realization of the truth of birth and death, and is fulfilled through the relinquishment of all attachments. When a person truly understands the principle of no self and realizes that life is like a dream, an illusion, a bubble, or a shadow, they neither cling to birth nor fear death, naturally transcending the bondage of the cycle of birth and death. It is like a butterfly completely freed from the constraints of the remaining kalpas, freely flying between heaven and earth. The words of the Buddha are like sweet nectar, nourishing the hearts of everyone present. Subhuti felt an unprecedented sense of tranquility and clarity, as if gazing through the ancient monument nearby. He perceived the profound mystery of samsara. The afterglow of the setting sun bathed the bamboo grove's startled snakes, marking a golden punctuation for this extraordinary afternoon. Subhuti carefully lifted the urn containing the ashes, respectfully bidding farewell to the Buddha and the assembly of disciples. He embarked on the path home, his heart no longer troubled by his father's instructions, but instead filled with a profound understanding and reverence for the deeper essence of life. He understood that he was not merely fulfilling the filial duty of son, but was also following a grander, more mysterious law of life. That golden afternoon, amidst the fear in the bamboo forest, the Buddha not only answered a question about ashes, but also revealed profound wisdom on the cycle of birth and death. This wisdom is like a seed planted in the heart of Subhuti, as well as in the hearts of every listener awaiting to take root, sprout, and eventually blossom and bear fruit in the years to come. And each of us, regardless of whether we comprehend the mysteries of samsara, walks our own path within the vast laws of the cosmos, seeking our own answers. Perhaps the meaning of life does not lie in our ability to fully comprehend these laws, but in whether we can find our own peace and wisdom within the limited journey.